One man holds the all-time NHL record for penalty minutes per game. Not Dave Schultz. Not Tiger Williams. Steve Durbano. A defenseman who averaged 5.12 penalty minutes every single game he played. A first-round draft pick with genuine scoring talent who once outpointed Bobby Orr and Phil Esposito in the same week. Yet the legends of his era did not remember him for goals. They remembered the look in his eyes. As Bernie Parent, the legendary goaltender of the Philadelphia Flyers, once said, "Facing Dave Schultz was tough, but facing Steve Durbano was a nightmare. You never knew if he wanted to score on you or use his stick to end your career." Stay with us because the stories ahead will show you exactly how far Durbano was willing to go, including the night he humiliated the great Bobby Hull in front of the entire world. During a heated game against the Philadelphia Flyers, a trainer named Jimmy McKenzie said something that caught Durbano's attention. There was no warning, no buildup. Durbano raised his stick and drove it directly into McKenzie's mouth with full force. 4 teeth shattered instantly. 8 stitches were needed to close the wound. McKenzie was not a player. He was a staff member doing his job on the bench. The reaction from the Flyers was immediate. Bob Kelly, known as Hound Dog, one of the most feared fighters on the Philadelphia Flyers roster, leaped off the bench, grabbed Durbano, and dragged him the length of the ice before throwing him into the penalty box. It took one of the toughest men in the league to physically remove Durbano from the situation. Years later, witnesses who were part of the Broad Street Bullies era still recalled the moment with visible discomfort. One of them said, "That was one of the worst things I ever saw done to a person on the ice." But Durbano deserved what he got after what he did to Jimmy. There are moments in sports that leave everyone in the building speechless. February 21st, 1979, at Madison Square Garden was one of them. Durbano was playing against the New York Rangers that night. After delivering a vicious cross-check to Nick Fotiu, one of the most dangerous fighters in the league, a full brawl erupted. The referees eventually stepped in, assessed the penalties, and ejected Durbano from the game. As he was being escorted off the ice in front of thousands of Rangers fans already booing loudly, Durbano stopped. He turned to face the crowd. And then he pulled down his pants. The arena fell into a stunned silence before erupting into chaos. The NHL suspended him 5 games immediately. Durbano was not embarrassed. He was not afraid. He was completely indifferent to consequences, to authority, and to the institution of the sport itself. No other player in NHL history had ever done anything like it, and no one has since. In hockey, there has always been an unspoken hierarchy of respect. You could fight, you could intimidate, but you did not go after the legends. Bobby Hull was not just a superstar. He was the man who had built the World Hockey Association almost single-handedly by signing with the Winnipeg Jets in 1972. He was untouchable, or so everyone believed. During the 1977-78 WHA playoff series between the Birmingham Bulls and the Winnipeg Jets, a brawl broke out on the ice. In the chaos, Hull's toupee was ripped from his head. The toupee had been stitched directly into his scalp. Hull began bleeding and was forced to leave the ice in front of thousands of fans. He returned to the bench wearing a helmet, hiding the wound and the humiliation beneath it. While multiple accounts suggest it was Bulls player Dave Hansen who physically pulled the toupee off, what followed made Durbano the defining figure of the night. He did not show discomfort. He did not look away. He absorbed the moment and made it his own, treating the humiliation of one of the greatest players alive as nothing more than entertainment. A sports journalist writing about the era captured it precisely. Durbano did not fight to win. He fought to strip others of their dignity. Durbano himself never expressed a single word of regret about anything he did during his career. When asked what separated him from other enforcers, he said simply, "I still have all my teeth." What do you think about Durbano after everything you just heard? Hit the like button and subscribe to the channel to show your support. And do not go anywhere, because the stories coming next are absolutely worth your time. Most people assumed the NHL made Steve Durbano dangerous. The truth is far more unsettling. He arrived that way. On November 11, 1969, Durbano was 17 years old and playing for the Toronto Marlboros in the Ontario Hockey Association. During a game against the St. Catharines Blackhawks, he was penalized for high sticking. He responded by screaming at the officials at the penalty timekeeper's bench. When referee Walt Gardner ejected him from the game, Durbano did not walk to the dressing room. He walked into the tunnel and kept fighting. What happened next crossed a line that no junior hockey player had ever crossed before. Durbano physically attacked the police officers who were stationed in the tunnel to maintain order. Officer Bill Smith required multiple stitches to his head. The confrontation grew into a full brawl as teammates and head coach Gus Bodner were pulled into the chaos. Durbano was arrested inside the arena and charged with assault causing bodily harm. He was 17 years old. A local sports journalist covering the incident wrote at the time, "We are watching a monster take shape. If at 17 he is willing to attack a police officer, what will stop him on a professional ice surface?" In hockey, there is one position that every player, no matter how violent, is expected to leave alone: the goaltender. Attacking a goaltender without direct provocation is considered one of the most dishonorable acts a player can commit. It is not written in any rule book. It does not need to be. Every player who has ever laced up a pair of skates understands it instinctively. Steve Durbano did not. During his time with the Pittsburgh Penguins, Durbano repeatedly targeted Billy Smith, the goaltender of the New York Islanders and one of the most respected players at his position in the entire league. A large defenseman charging at a goaltender already wearing heavy protective equipment is not a fight. It is a calculated act designed to injure and to terrorize. The Pittsburgh Penguins' own team publication described Durbano in plain terms as the worst of the worst, specifically because of these unprovoked attacks on a protected position. Billy Smith was known throughout the league for defending himself with his stick. He was not an easy target. Durbano went after him anyway. There were no boundaries left. Not the bench staff, not the legends of the game, not the police, and now, not even the goaltender. Durbano had made it clear. On his ice, no one was safe. Throughout his career, Durbano treated his stick not as a piece of equipment, but as a weapon. He used it to slash, to spear, and to threaten anyone within range, including the referees whose job was to control the game. Even the men with the whistles were not safe from him. But one moment stands above all others as the purest expression of his contempt for authority. When a referee refused his request to leave the ice to have his skate blades resharpened, Durbano did not argue. He did not protest. He sat down on the ice, unlaced both skates, stood up in his socked feet, and hurled them at the rafters of the arena with enough force that they lodged there and stayed. He then stood in the middle of the ice, barefoot, staring at the referee. A former NHL referee later described working one of Durbano's games anonymously. Officiating a Durbano game was like trying to manage a nuclear explosion with a plastic whistle. You never knew when he would use that stick on your head. Across his full professional career, combining his time in the NHL, the World Hockey Association, and the minor leagues, the total penalty minutes climbs to nearly 3,000 minutes spent in the penalty box. Yet in the first week of February 1973, this same man led the entire NHL in scoring with 10 points. He finished ahead of Phil Esposito with 9 points, Bobby Orr with 8 points, and Marcel Dion with 7 points. This was not a lucky week. It was proof that Durbano was never just a brawler. He was a genuine talent who had been selected in the first round of the NHL draft for a reason. A man with real skill who chose violence as his answer to whatever was burning inside him. As journalist Stan Fischler wrote in 1975, "If you want to find Steve Durbano, do not look at the score sheet. Look at the wooden chair in the penalty box. That is where he rules as the king of chaos." Which NHL legend do you want us to cover next?